Hello, today we will be discussing two important topics that we should know for the final exam. So today we will be discussing chapter 4.3, which is the product rule and the quotient rule. Let's start off with the product rule. The product rule is a formula used to find the derivatives of the products of two or more functions. So let's start off with a quick example. And the equation for this product rule is simply f prime g plus fg prime. Let's start off with x squared multiplied by x plus 3. So we will write out f of x, which is equals to x squared. And we also have g of x, which is equals to x plus 3. Now, our goal here is to write out the derivatives of each of these terms. So here we have x squared. So now the derivative of x squared is simply 2x. Now the g prime of x will simply be 1 because 3 does not have a derivative. With 3, the derivative of 3 is 0. So we don't need to write that out. One important thing for me to memorize this is just simply crisscrossing the 4 equations. So on the first one, we have f prime of x, which is 2x, and then we have g, which is x plus 3. So that's how we write it out. And then would be plus f of g prime. So for f we have x squared and g prime is 1. Okay, so now we will move on to another example. In this example we will have the equation 4x plus 7 multiplied by x cubed minus 4. So our first step is to write down f of x, which is 4x plus 7, and the f prime of x is 4, and g of x is x to the 5th minus 4, and the derivative of that will simply be 5x to the 4th power. So now we will use this and have the final answer, which is 4x plus 7 times 5x to the 4 plus 4 times x to the 5th minus 4. Now moving on, we will do the quotient rule, which the equation is f prime g minus fg prime over g squared. Now let's start off with example 1. We have x plus 7 over 2x squared. So remember to write out the expressions and get the derivatives right after. So the derivative of x plus 2 simply 1, and the derivative of 2x squared is 4x. Now remember that by crisscrossing it is a little bit easier for you to remember what two terms go with each other, and that's how you will write it out for the final answer. So we have x plus 7 times 4x, and we will do minus 1 times 2x squared. Now, the most important step we have to remember is that we have to divide this by g squared. So your g squared will be 2x squared, and then squared again for the whole term. Okay, now we will move on to the second example. So we have f of x is equal to 5x squared plus 3. And we have g of x is equal to 2x squared plus 7. Now, as the rest of the examples, we will write out these two terms. So we have, for f, we have 5x squared plus 3, and g is 2x squared plus 7. Now we have to get the derivatives for these functions. So the derivative of 5x squared plus 3 is simply 10x, because we multiply 5 times 2 to get 10, and 1 less power of x squared is simply x. And the derivative of 2x squared is 4x. So remember the crisscross. So I simply just draw arrows to remind me what functions go with what other function. So we have we simply have, sorry folks, we simply have 10x multiplied by 2x squared plus 7. And remember that we have the minus sign, so it'll be minus 5x squared plus 3 multiplied by 4x. Now, one important step to remember is that we have to divide the whole thing by g squared. So our g is 2x squared plus 7. So we would square it at the end. Okay, so now we will continue with our final example. So we have f of x, which is equals to 5x to the 4th power. Now f prime of x will be 20x to the 3rd power. Why? Because we multiplied 5 times 4 to get 20, and 1 less power of 4 is 3. So it's 20x to the 3rd power. Now we have g of x, which is 2x squared plus 3, and g prime of x will be 4x, because we multiplied the constant, which is 2, by the power of 2, which gives us 4. Now we will do f prime of g, which will be 20x to the 3rd power multiplied by 2x squared plus 3 minus fg prime, which will be 5x to the 4th multiplied by 4x. Now remember that we have to multiply this whole thing, we have to divide this whole thing by g squared, which is 2x squared plus 3. And this will be our final answer.